Good, and you? Welcome back to New Hampshire Vintage. My name is Wyatt, and I wish we had big rides like that here in New Hampshire. One day, I'll go out in the central or more west of the United States and hopefully attend some of those rides. Anyway, I am currently waiting for parts for this project that's right out of frame. Hopefully that video will be out at the end of the week. But my buddy Eric, while I was out plowing this past big storm a couple days ago, ended up fixing or replacing the gas tank on the Citation and getting that all situated. So this is a part 2, and Eric's going to be the star of this episode. So take it away, Eric. Well, I'd love to have one of those eventually.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is going to be a quick one. We're going to be replacing the fuel tank on my yellow Citation. You saw Wyatt get this thing fired up in a previous video. It's just going to be me today. He is recovering from a long couple days of plowing. So let's get started. So, as you guys saw in the previous video, Wyatt was nice enough to go through this thing, get it fired up for me. And we thought we were done with it, put some fuel in it, and about an hour later it was all sitting on the ground. So come to find out, we believe the gas tank has a crack in it, so I went ahead and ordered one. First thing to do is get the seat out of the way. So on this guy, there's going to be 2 nuts up underneath the back of the tunnel here towards the rear. In my case, I already took them off because I took the seat off to find the crack. If it's an older sled like this is, most of the time they're just going to break off and you're going to have to replace them. So kind of count on that. So let's get this thing out of the way. Now look, you'll have to undo your light wiring harness as well, which is going to be right at the front of the seat. Alright, so we got that out of the way. You can see this thing is all yellow and nasty. This tank was probably been leaking for quite some time and potentially just getting bigger. So you probably won't be able to see in the camera, but all around this general vicinity is very wet. And I can actually see a pretty big crack right here at the base. So my guess is it's probably from this clamp pushing down on the plastic for so many years. It just creates stress in the plastic, and it developed a crack right there in the tank. So unfortunately, it's obviously right at the bottom, and you can't even put a half a gallon of gas in it without it all coming out. So it's gonna get replaced. We're gonna have 2 nuts here. We're gonna hope and pray that maybe we can get those off. It's probably not gonna happen. They're probably gonna snap. Let's go ahead and do that, and I think we should more or less be able to slide the tank out. We'll probably have a fuel line at the front that we have to take off, but other than that, it should come right out. Okay, so I went ahead and soaked these down with some WD-40. Give us maybe a prayer of getting these things off. What I'm actually gonna do is heat them up a little bit with the gas torch here. Obviously, whenever we're using a torch, especially inside, we want to make sure we have a fire extinguisher nearby, especially in this case where it's a fuel tank and we have a fuel leak. The fuel has pretty much all leaked out of this tank by now. It's really not, there's not much going on here anymore. It's all dust, so I'm fairly confident nothing's going to really go up in flames. But in the case that anything goes south, I got the fire extinguisher right here. So let's give this a shot. And WD-40 is a little flammable, so don't go heading for the fire extinguisher right off the bat just because you see some flames. See if that did anything. Probably not. It's probably still gonna snap, but this is a 10 millimeter. Ooh. Wow. Today's my lucky day. I'm gonna go buy a lottery ticket after this. And it snapped at the last second. Nice. Spoke too soon. Okay, we'll go ahead and do the same thing with the other one. that is catching a little bit of fuel on fire, which isn't ideal. Got a wiring harness out of the way there. Okay. Let's try this one. Broke free. See if this one makes it to the top without snapping. Problem is these bolts got a lot of rust at the top of them. And it gets in there and clogs up the threads and then provides too much resistance and it snaps. There we go. Alright, so that was just a little plate with some studs pressed into it. Not a big deal if those snapped. That's pretty easy. I can just through bolt that bracket if we really need to when we put it back together. So not too worried about that. Let's go ahead and see if this tank will slide back now. Kind of shimmy the wire harness out of the way. There we go. Easy as that. So I do have, I got a vent line here and I have the main feed line. So I'm going to go ahead and bust out the heat gun, see if I can warm this vent line up, and we'll get that off. Okay. Just put a little bit of heat to that. That should help slide that off. Hopefully, I'll break that free with a pair of pliers. Twist, maybe. There it goes. Perfect. And then we just got a little squeeze clamp here. And a fuel line that Wyatt already nicely replaced for me. That's it. Tank's free. Alright. So, as you can see, there is a big crack in this tank. That was not getting fixed. And it's a plastic tank, so for the money that the used one costs, it's really not worth even trying to mess with that, in my opinion anyway. In addition to that, the inside of this tank is pretty nasty. There's definitely some dirt floating around in there, so probably for the best. Alright, so we got a nice used tank, hopefully. Shout out to Al's Snowmobile Parts out of Newport, Vermont. Next state over for us. I ordered this 2 days ago. Yeah, I think 2 days ago. And it already showed up. So, big shout out to those guys for getting this thing shipped out super quick. And some speedy shipping as well. So, this thing looks really good. A little dirty, but that's not a big deal at all. We'll get it cleaned up. Most importantly, no crack in it. So that's excellent. It looks really good. So we'll have to swap over a couple fittings in the front, and then we're going to reuse our gas cap off of the old tank. Alright, so we got both tanks on the bench here. I did go ahead and I cleaned this one off with some Simple Green and a scrub brush real quick to get the dust and dirt off of it. So we're going to go ahead and get these fittings swapped over here on the front. Like I said, we got this pickup and then we get a vent here. I wish you guys could see the inside of this thing. It has got so much rust and dirt in there. I don't even know how it has so much rust in there being a plastic tank. It's like unbelievable the amount of rust and dirt that's floating around in this thing. This one is very clean. It did have a little bit of tiny bit of dust and dirt in there, probably just from sitting on the shelf. So I went ahead and blew it out with some compressed air before we're gonna go ahead and swap the fittings over. So now that that's all done, we'll go ahead and we'll get this vent out. The vent is connected to, I don't know if you can see it, it is connected to that little piece of, I believe it's brass, that loops up underneath the gas tank cap. So we'll take that nut off of there and we'll see if we can weasel that out of there. All right, so we got a 13mm wrench here. We are gonna go ahead, and so it looks like I'm gonna have to kind of hold on to this thing a little bit to get this nut. Oh, there it goes, perfect. So we get that broken free, thread that nut off, and then without dropping it into the tank, push that back through, pull that guy up and out. So that's our vent. It just, like I said, goes up underneath the gas cap and allows the fuel tank to vent out. It's kind of gross, but there's no holes in it or nothing like that, so I think this should be okay to reuse. I'll go ahead and probably hit it with a wire brush before we put it back in the new tank. And then we gotta get this pickup out. So I'm gonna heat this up a little bit because it is a rubber grommet that holds it in there. It's kind of chilly in here. So we'll put a little bit of heat to that. Hopefully make that a little more pliable. I think the easiest way to do it is, pull the fitting out first, that guy, and then pull the grommet out second. Oop, okay. Well, usually that has a piece of hose attached to it. I think the hose was supposed to come out with this piece here, but it didn't. So maybe I was supposed to pull this out first. I don't know. But now I gotta fish this hose and the pickup screen out of the tank. So let's see if I can do that. Got it. That's what I was looking for. This is just a short piece of fuel hose that attaches to the other side of this barb, and it just lays down at the bottom of the tank. There is a tiny screen, like a steel fuel screen on this. That's just basically that's what filters out that dust and rust and stuff that's at the bottom of the tank in there. So we'll go ahead and just kind of wipe this off a little bit, get it cleaned up, and fire it into the new tank. All right, we got everything kind of cleaned up here. I wire brushed this. Let's see if I can. Ooh, look at that first try. Pretty good. So we'll get that threaded on there. Make sure that vent's still open up here. Don't have to go crazy tight with that. It's plastic after all. This is going to be a little tricky, so. That's not going to go through there, but let's see if I can do it this way. Ah, yeah, it's much easier. So that just lays down in the tank like that. That guy slips over that. Sorry, spoke too soon. This guy goes there first. Actually, I think what we're going to do. Let's think here. All right, that took a little working, but I think I figured out how to do this. So I put the rubber grommet in first, and then I took the pickup off the end of this hose, and just lube up the hose a little bit, enough so you can slide it in there. And then ideally what I think we're gonna do here is feed that in just enough so I can see it, grab it with a pair of pliers, pull it up to here. Perfect. Wipe the simple green off of there. I'm going to put our pickup back in the hose there. We'll go ahead and drop that down in the tank. And then we are going to take our fitting, throw that on there. Again, put some simple green on there, soapy water, whatever you got. Just something to kind of lube up the rubber and make it push in a little bit easier. And there you go. That's it. Our fittings are in. We got our cap here. Cap actually looks pretty good. The seal under here looks good. So I think we should be okay to reuse this. Let's go ahead and get it back in the machine. So before I go crazy putting this tank back in, I'm just going to go ahead and vacuum up some of this crap and crud that's accumulated underneath the tank and the seat. Just clean this up a little bit, and then we should be good. So we'll go ahead and get our lines reconnected here. We get our main feed. Slide that back on, slide the clamp over. And we get a vent somewhere, there it is. Fits awesome. It's the right tank for sure. So we'll go ahead, and underneath here there is a little channel that wiring harness runs in for the light. So we'll make sure that's tucked in there. It looks good. So now we'll go ahead and I'm going to clean up that bracket because that had a bunch of rust on it. So I'm going to actually sandblast that and repaint it. I'll go ahead and put that back together, probably just through bolt it for now because I don't think this is really going to work that well anymore. And then for today, I think I'm just going to put, because both of my mounting bolts for the seat did end up ripping out of the seat because the wood's a little rotted. I think for today, I'm just going to end up putting some, just some generic wood screws up from these holes into the bottom of the seat because I do want to ride this thing this weekend. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to need to order a new seat cover because the vinyl at the bottom of the seat is pretty hard, and I don't think I'm going to be able to staple it to a new piece of wood. But in a future video, I do plan on reupholstering that seat. So if that's something you're looking to do to your snowmobile, stay tuned because I will definitely be putting a new seat cover on that. We'll be replacing the wood and replacing the mounting hardware for the taillight as well. So stay tuned. But as far as the gas tank goes, we should be good to put fuel in this thing and fire it up, and I'm planning on going riding this weekend, so I'll see you out there.
Merc Trail Twister. That's another really cool sled. Well, there you have it. Gas tank's finally installed on the Citation. We got the seat right here. Got to go through and, like Eric said, got to get a new cover for it, and we're going to cut out a new piece of plywood underneath because that's all rotten, gross. A couple days, another video will be up, and it'll be on this new project. Stay tuned for that. Also, Eric picked up a pretty cool rig, one of his, let's say, dream snowmobiles in the vintage world. So should have some content coming on that too. I honestly think it's one of the coolest things I've seen. So stay tuned for all that, and we'll see you in a few days.